Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Carpo After Dark. It's been a while, so I thought I would step outside. Just so you know, these Carpo After Dark episodes are done for a variety of reasons. Usually it has to do with A, I don't feel like sitting in front of the camera. B, it's evening or kind of late, and I just feel like rambling or ranting. And C, I go outside because it's generally noisy in the house, so it's a nice quiet moment. But my disclaimer, as always, is that I'm here to ramble about things in life. And, usually when I make videos, I have a structure to it and a point. And I do not here. So that's my disclaimer. We're all doing the best we can. I guess this evening Carpo After Dark thing is kind of more like a vlog. It's my vlog because, a lot of people do them. They talk about their life. A lot of people do videos about what's going on in their life, and people are really into that. And I just don't talk about that stuff because, beyond basic banter, I generally don't delve into my personal life or what goes on. And a lot of people ask me, what do you do for work? And what's your life like? Well, I'm married. I have 3 kids. One's 21, and one's 6, and one's 3. And they all live here. We've got a small little house, 1,000 square feet in Vancouver, Washington, near Portland, Oregon. We live a pretty humble existence. My wife is a waitress. I, at the moment, run my herb business, selling kratom, plus I am a stay-at-home dad, and I have other things that I won't mention, and random side jobs I do and whatnot. I was a carpenter for 15 years or so, on and off, but sciatica forced me to quit, take a new approach to life, find a new career, and that's what led me to... First, I started off by writing a book, and I thought I wanted to write for a bit, and I wrote this book called, The Mystery of Life, What Can We Know? And I put it on the Kindle website, It's had a couple reviews and sold a few digital copies, but really it was just kind of my attempt to write down my thoughts about what it means to be human and try to seek understanding and why we believe in religion, basically. Because my understanding of religion has changed a lot over the last decade, maybe the last 2 decades. When I was about 18, I remember running into this guy in Portland one day, and he was carrying this sign, "Repent or die, Jesus, yada yada." And I remember talking to him, and I don't recall the actual conversation or the details of it, but I do remember him telling me that basically, in a nutshell, I was going to hell because of the clothes I chose to wear and the lifestyle I chose. And this set me on a really raw path. I wasn't raised with any religion. It wasn't an issue that ever came up. So therefore I was never even considered it. From the time I was about 15, I was into symbolism, astrological symbols and occult ideas. Illuminati type stuff came up in the 90s, and I've been down all these different roads, conspiracy roads and philosophy roads and religious roads, although I've never actually taken a religion, and in fact I was mostly opposed to religion for a long time. But I'd say around 5 or 6 years ago, I became really interested in Eastern mysticism, a lot more than I had before. About 25 years ago, I bought a book, and it was called The Psychedelic Experience by Timothy Leary and Ralph Metzner, and they're psychedelic, gurus, if you will. And although I have mixed feelings about both of them, especially McKenna, because he was a great man, but he had some wild, out there theories. Anyhow, Metzner and him wrote a book called The Psychedelic Experience, and it was based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which they had run across, and realized how similar the experience of dying is and the preparation for the death is to the psychedelic experience and the ego death. And so they compared the two. And anyway, from that point on, I was very fascinated with Eastern mysticism. But it was only about 5 years ago I really got into it. And I'm just saying this because it was the only time I really took not a religion, but a view that God or the existence of a superior entity may be real. And it took me many years to really reconcile this. I mean, decades of... there's one thing I never said, that I was an atheist from the time I was young. I never associated with being an atheist. And from the youngest age, I said that I was agnostic, because it was the best word I could find at that time to describe myself. And agnostic, of course, in my mind, from the description I was told, meaning you don't believe in a God or a religion, but if one is presented to you, you're willing to accept it and look at the evidence. And agnostic is another word for saying you're a seeker, I guess, or that you're open to it, at least. Now, over these years, I've, of course, developed a love and an obsession of aliens, conspiracies, New World Order, reptilians, you name it. Hollow moon, hollow earth, holes in the North Pole where the alien ships come out of, all the different things that I've learned about and heard about. I've been very skeptical and very cautious, and it's almost like I feel like I'm starting all over. Not with myself or what I've learned, but with all the new people I meet on the internet and elsewhere that try to tell me things like, you're just ignorant, you're not aware that, you're not open-minded. It blows my mind when people tell me I'm not open-minded, because I've spent so much time researching these things, but I've kind of just set them aside because they don't matter. And the religions, while they're important to individuals, don't matter either. Not to me. In other words, to try to clarify, I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't expect religion to ever go away, nor would I want it to, because after empathizing with society in general and understanding how people think and why they think the way they do, I understand that everyone is a scared little child inside. I don't care how fucking tough you think you are. I don't care how fucking arrogant you are, or, how much you think that you know. I've talked to enough people to know that none of you know jack shit. And I'm not trying to be harsh here. I'm not trying to be arrogant, because I don't know jack shit. You don't know jack shit. None of us know anything. And we're clinging to science as an attempt to explain many of the things and understand. And I find it to be a fascinating tool. But while science is limited, religion kind of takes over where it leaves off. However, religion is just as arrogant and short-sighted as science. And I mean that with full respect to both of them. I'm not opposed to those who believe in a religion, because I understand that we're here for a short time, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. And in that time, what do we really want? We want to be comfortable. We want to be happy. Why is it so hard for people to realize that that's all people really want? We may not be able to prove what we think is true, nor maybe be able to get the comfort that we desire from the things that we can prove are true. In other words, religion may bring happiness for some people. However, it may be delusional. Whereas science may discourage, or let's say it's kind of a letdown to many people when things are proven that they otherwise may like to think are mystical or complicated, or godlike, and they can be explained scientifically. To me, that's a magnificent thing. It shows that we can set aside all the things that we weren't sure about that we can prove with science, and that leaves all the raw things behind that we can't prove with science, which is things like, do we have a sixth sense, telepathy, can we read minds, can we do remote viewing, can we leave our bodies? I made a video the other day, and I made the mistake of making one wrong sentence in it, and I said something like that we can't see anything beyond our three dimensions. And somebody called me out on it and said, hey, that's not necessarily true. There's psychics, and there's a lot of evidence to show that people can communicate in other means and astral project. But I had to say, while I believe in those things, there's absolutely no confirmed evidence scientifically for it. In other words, they can't be repeated in clinical trials. And my belief is because many of these things require, many of them are bullshit, where many of them are true as well, but it's very difficult. Let me put it another way. Some things like astral projection, psychics, readings, these are metaphors of nature that come through in symbols and ideas in a person's mind. And that the person is trying to interpret this and give the person a reading. I have no doubt in my mind that people can read other people's minds. However, it's not that they're directly reading the thoughts. What they're doing is a person may be thinking about something in their life and they may pick up on it. Let's go to a person like John Edwards. This guy had so many people. I think that was his name, because now I think that was a politician too. That's right. Anyway, the guy, had all these different people coming in, and he would read them, and you start to wonder, is he a complete fraud? Because you hear of a lot of fraud going on where people would learn about the audience beforehand and therefore be able to, do research and learn about the people. However, I've heard some very, let's just say, calm, collected, organized thinking scientists, a couple who have said that they just can't dispel some of these psychics' myths, or rather the psychics' gifts. And my belief is that many of the psychics in this world, as well as many healers and readers, they're all catching a glimpse of a metaphoric existence, because I should say a metaphoric representation of what a person needs or is thinking or wants or desires. And I guess the complication comes in distinguishing between a person reading another person's mind and getting ideas from them, and a person actually reading into a person who's dead or speaking to a dead person. In other words, when a person says, your loved one wants to tell you it's okay, they're fine, is that just telling a person what they want to hear because you're reading their mind, or is that the actual resonant energy of the person who died? Because ghosts are one of those things that are much more complex to understand. But, back to religion here, in many cultures there are different, different beings. They have the trickster in the Native American tradition, demons in Christianity. They have the Jinn in the Middle East. And all of these things, we'll start with the Jinn because it's an interesting one. They have the theory that the Jinn are basically demonic entities or energies that are in another dimension, and that they can press into this dimension. And it almost reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the movie. I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments section. I think it will, no? Yeah, anyway, it was a Stephen King movie, but where people would push through walls and you would see this kind of pressing on the fabric of reality. And this is exactly what the Jinn are supposedly. That when you allow them and allow their energy to come in, that they can push through this fabric of this dimension. And all of this is metaphoric, of course. It's just like saying that a demon can enter you. Or, the spirits, the essence of some other entity that people believe that possesses folks. And while many people don't believe in any of this kind of stuff, there's just too many accounts of this type of unexplainable activity to discount it all, just like with aliens. But I'm very cautious about what I'm willing to believe. I'm very cautious about what I'll accept as truth. But that doesn't mean I ever cast anything out. Come to think of it, my mom and I have several discussions regarding conspiracies all the way through aliens and Bigfoot. And my mom, I remember when I was younger, she used to, I used to drive her insane when I was like 20 because I would go obsessed about the Illuminati. I would talk about the New World Order and how everybody's out to get us and that they're going to hurdle us into these FEMA camps and how they're going to declare a martial law. They're going to take away our guns and our rights. And this was back in about 98. And looking back on it now, it's been almost 20 years. And of course, none of this has happened. But I see and hear the same things happening on the internet, which at the time when I thought, when I was obsessed with this stuff, I read Behold a Pale Horse, which was a book by William Cooper, and the Illuminatus trilogy, which is a big long book by Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson. And I'm well versed in this kind of stuff, but I don't try to be arrogant about it because it's like I understand that people want to think that there's somebody really in control of the future or the fate of humanity, when the fact is that we're on a runaway ship and we don't know shit. And that's what I meant when I say you don't know shit, I don't know shit. We can pretend all day long, but really in our short time, the best information we have is learned by others. All the scientific basis we have, we're trusting in other people. All the religious basis we have, we're trusting in other people. In other words, how many Christians do you think have had a direct relationship with Jesus, other than a feeling in their heart? Well, people have also claimed that same feeling from Buddha, or from a Buddhist principle, or from Zen, or from whatever particular item they want to use as their attachment, So, I think understanding this helps us all. Because I guess if I could convey one message here, it would be that we're all scared little children. And that we all really don't know shit. And even some of the people that are the most well-organized and collected thinkers are lacking in certain areas, like myself. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And this is what makes humanity such an amazing thing. That we all do have our part to play. It doesn't matter whether nature has created an importance for humans, or whether we carry on, or whether our souls transgress into another life. If we die and we carry on, then so be it. But if we don't, so be it. Dealing with death is one of the most difficult things for humans to comprehend. And this is why the animal kingdom has one up on us. It's because they can live and experience and enjoy life, but not have to worry about death. They might mourn the death of their loved ones, but not quite understand it. Maybe they do understand it, but they don't dwell on it like we do. You don't hear of animals committing suicide. And it's a human condition that comes with intelligence. So that's led me to believe through my philosophical ramblings and thinkings that humans are destined to ponder and consider why we're here and what we can do to influence and help the environment we're around. Because if we evolved consciousness and intelligence, either intelligence is a fluke byproduct or it's a very important evolutionary trait. And if it's an important evolutionary trait, then it means that the earth wants us to be conscious for one reason or another. And I'm not going to go back to George Carlin when he says, "Why are humans here? Plastic." It's one of my favorite lines because we don't know shit and we don't know why we're here. And the amount of arrogance out there with people trying to convince one another is astounding. There's guys like A.J. Miller who claim to be the reincarnation of Jesus, and they've got people flocking down to Australia to live with him and donate money to him. We've got people like David Icke who spread half-truths about, how everything's, corrupt, and people are corrupt, and the governments are corrupt. And then he throws in that the queen drinks baby blood because she's a reptilian, and people believe it. And so the only message I'd like to convey is that it's okay to listen to every speaker and every person, whoever it might be. It might be Richard Gere talking about aliens. It might be David Icke talking about reptilians. It might be David Wilcock talking about 2012, and then nothing happens in 2012, and he goes on to talk about something else. And I'm not being a hater here. I'm just saying that one of the cautionary tales of life is to not go around spreading shit that you're not sure of. And so many guys do it. And so many people fall for it. And it's depressing sometimes. But I understand it. I understand why people want something to latch onto, because they don't get it. And I don't get it. None of us get it. So let's all just not get it together. It's just... I'm going to Burning Man this next week in about 5 days. It's actually the regional Burning Man, Soak. And, going to that community, it's like they sold out tickets in 24 hours because they only had like 1,500. And I was so bummed because my son didn't get one. And I volunteered last year for the ice booth, so I had a free ticket coming. And if it hadn't been for that, I probably wouldn't have got one. So I went onto the Facebook pages and I explained my issue and just let it go. And I got an email last night from the producers, and they said that they have an extra ticket waiting for me. And I wanted to confirm that it wasn't just the ticket I already had. And they said, no, it's actually for your son, Raceland, so he's going to be going with me. And, it was so hard to find a ticket to this, and it just came to me. And it wasn't just that they said they had a ticket to buy, it was a gift ticket. And, that's just an amazing thing. And it's because I believe that the universe brings us what we desire, as long as we focus on it, and as long as we make the effort. But anyway, the point is that the community, the Burning Man community, has gotten so large. The burners have gotten, it's a huge thing. But in the local burns, it's only like 1,500 people. And it's a community of people that think the thoughts that I'm speaking about right now. People that you can sit by the fire and talk about. And it shows you that there are people out there who still think and who still care about one another. And that's important to me. So that's why I do this channel, and that's why I answer my emails and my messages and try to respond to everyone, is because everyone's important to me. And I just wanted everybody to know that. As much as we are selfish as well, sometimes we just have to remember that we're all in this together. So, namaste.